Our school district, Bettendorf Community School District, about 2 years ago received our first grant from the state to begin a program related to serving students with therapeutic needs, so the Therapeutic Learning Center grant. We launched that program at our middle school during the 22-23 school year, and then subsequently asked for additional funding and received funding for this school year in the 23-24 school year, so that we could expand the programming to our high school and our elementary schools. Very proud of our district for receiving this funding for a couple reasons. One, we have seen with those supports at our middle school the ability to serve students who were struggling in school or to get to school and really struggling academically with attendance, but also significantly in their social, emotional, behavioral health. And the programming and the funding has allowed us to do intensive training with teachers around trauma-informed care and how to incorporate that into the educational process. And it's also enabled us to create spaces in the school where students can go when they become dysregulated and get refocused and return to the classroom so that they can receive their instruction.
What was unique about our plan was that we thought through how do we incorporate brain science, not just behaviorists. So we looked into collaborative problem solving and really adopted that model, focusing on regulation. So each one of our plans now for students have regulation within it, have relate, which means who's their adult, who's their connection, how do we create an attachment, a sense of belonging, to incorporate with how do we build the skill for the student and teach them those skills so that they can have academic success.
We are creating some inroads and some new learnings for ourselves as teachers and educators that allows us to have a better understanding of brain-based health, looking at the why behind behavior and how to better respond to students when we have something come up. So we've done extensive training on how the brain works, what is going on in a student's development process, and then just what happens when that cortisol takes over and how we can best approach that, looking at that fight, flight, freeze response. And so our students as a whole are getting better served. We've identified a small group of students that have access to a therapeutic learning space, and those individuals are getting really intensive services in terms of site-based therapy, group therapy, individual learning about the same thing that our staff has learned about, and access to a space where they can regulate themselves better. What's good for them, there's applications there across the entire continuum, and so we're working towards that. From a staff perspective, it is really powerful when you learn about the science of behavior and that idea that it's not personal, it's not about you, it's not about what you're doing, it's about that cortisol going through your brain, and it's not a battle, and so there's a level of ownership that you can take off when you're not taking those behaviors personally.
And we're coming together on how to best serve the student, and the kids get to be a part of that plan. They get a say in their plan, and if something's not working, we get to come together and we get to figure out a way to make it more beneficial for them, for their success. And I think them having a say in their plan has also been something that they've taken pride in. They've also taken really a lot of pride in this room when it comes to them coming in here. This is their safe place. This is where they feel that they're heard and they're seen. And I think that has a lot to do with how our student services team has helped with our counselors, has a lot to do with our administration, and it has a lot to do with the relationships that are being built in these walls.
We invite whatever adults in their life or whatever family wants to join. They'll come and meet with myself and Mr. Hartley, and we go through the structured family interview, which is really kind of more like a social history for the family and for the student, which has been pretty powerful. Each and every one of the families I met with, every single one was almost in tears at the chance to be able to talk about all the good about their student and all the really great things that we don't maybe see at school, that we don't get a chance to know about them. And so those family interviews were really, really powerful and important, and something that I came back to the team and really emphasized the importance of getting that family involvement and having them continually involved.
We did a lot of training for the staff around like trauma-informed care. We were involved in getting some of that base level training to all the staff, particularly really heavy with a lot of the support staff too. And then even working with teams to figure out like who is going to be most appropriate for this classroom, helping them figure out the process of who is this going to be most important for, who is going to benefit most from being in the classroom, and how are we going to know what makes these students successful.
Our role has really been to provide the research base for this set of services, to really take the best research that's out there to support students. The other thing that is really exciting about this project that I didn't necessarily expect was that we were able to now have a platform to really look at broader school-wide culture and climate. We know that the things that are good for our most vulnerable populations are good for all of our students. This has given us an opportunity to really look at the way things are done, the relationships between students and other students and students and staff, and procedures and processes, and figure out how to create a more psychologically safe space for all of our kids. That includes the way that the work impacts staff members. And so we've also gotten to really kind of dig into staff well-being, which of course is important for retention of our great staff and our great faculty. So this has just been a really great project. Everybody is excited, wants to do the work, and it really is a great example of what community collaboration can do when you bring interdisciplinary teams together and really lean into the science and the data.
Another point of pride for our district is we've become a model program for the state. We've had the ability to share our success and our programming across the state of Iowa with the Department of Education as well as with other state agencies that support students' mental health. And the way we look at it is we know students everywhere are struggling from a social, emotional, behavioral lens, and if we have learned something that can be shared with others, then we feel very privileged and honored to share that gift. And so I am so proud of our staff at all levels, from paraeducators to teachers, our support staff, counselors, social workers, and administrators, for the intensive amount of time they have spent in learning, in growing, in changing practice, and in how we are now serving our students.